What's the recipe for some of rock history's craziest feuds? Take 1 part talent, mix in a few emotionally unstable artists, add in a dash of morbidity, a teaspoon of insanity, then place them neatly against each other. As 2019 comes to an end, we've created our top stories behind some of rock music's craziest feuds ever. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe with notifications on. Rockfeed publishes daily hard rock and heavy metal news stories, so subscribe now to make sure you don't miss out on any breaking news. Nirvana and Guns N' Roses sound about as different as Lawrence Welk and the Ramones. Both bands found fame during the 1990s, meaning both Axl Rose and Kurt Cobain must have crossed paths a few times. Axl Rose has feuded with about as many rock stars as Billy Corgan, who also made our list. So of course he took it personally when Cobain denied Rose's request that Nirvana play the opening slot for a Guns N' Roses tour at the height of Nirvana's fame. Cobain's antagonistic wife, Courtney Love, also got in on the feud, mockingly requesting that Rose be the godfather to her daughter Frances Bean. Rose actually told Cobain to keep his wife's mouth quiet, but Cobain didn't miss a beat, deadpanning to Love that she should shut up. Although Rose wanted fistcuffs over the incident, Cobain didn't oblige. Next on our list is Billy Corgan versus, well, basically everyone. Honestly, who hasn't Billy Corgan feuded with over the years? He trashed his own bandmates in the Smashing Pumpkins many times, calling former drummer Jimmy Chamberlain a liar in a 2012 Enemy article. He claimed that previous bassist Darcy Reski is a mean-spirited drug addict, and then he also insisted that ex-bassist Jimmy Ha is one of the worst human beings he's ever met in his life. Beyond that, Corgan has also verbally sparred with his ex-girlfriend Courtney Love, saying he deserved writing credits on Hole's 2010 disc Nobody's Daughter. He also launched into a tirade against contemporary band Soundgarden, claiming the group was only trying to make money with the 2010 reunion. And more randomly, Corgan has even insulted Anderson Cooper and Radiohead. No list would be complete without Dave Mustaine versus Metallica. Mustaine had bad blood with pretty much every member of the major rock band. In 1983, he was fired by Metallica just as they were about to record their debut album, Kill 'Em All. Although Mustaine, whose substance abuse issues were named as the reason for his dismissal, went on to have plenty of success as the leader of Megadeth, he was still expressing his unhappiness with the decision nearly 30 years later. In the Metallica documentary, Some Kind of Monster, Mustaine told drummer Lars Ulrich about how upset he was not being able to be given a second chance, and that his contributions to Metallica's early days have been glossed over, forgotten. In 2008, Ulrich said that Mustaine had never played on a Metallica record, and that he was in the band for 10 months, 25 years ago. That's an amazing statistic when you think about it, and still Metallica is such a prominent part of his existence. That's just mind-blowing. Mustaine sat in with Metallica for 5 songs in the last night of their 30th anniversary show in 2011. But as recently as June 2018, he said that Ulrich was afraid to play with Megadeth and took exception to Ulrich trying to take credit for early Metallica songs that Mustaine had written. Our next feud happened at the 1989 MTV Video Music Awards. The award ceremony took a violent turn when Vince Neil introduced his fist to Izzy Stradlin's face. Guns N' Roses' video for Sweet Child of Mine was up for awards in 2 categories, Best Group and Best Metal Videos. They ended up winning the latter, and as fate would have it, Motley Crue were tasked with presenting and handing out the awards. While Motley Crue were all smiles and high fives with Guns N' Roses' rhythm section, Neil was seething internally. At some point in the weeks leading up to the event, while he was on a whitewater rafting trip in Idaho, Neil's wife had gone out to the Cat House Club in Los Angeles, where she'd been allegedly assaulted by Stradlin. So while the rest of the Motley Crue departed the venue after their on-camera appearance, Neil waited around for Stradlin and Axl Rose to finish their performance of Free Fallin' with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. He wanted to have some words with Stradlin. When Izzy walked off stage looking like a cross between Eric Stoltz in Mask and Neil Young, I was waiting for him, Vince Neil wrote in his band's autobiography, The Dirt. You effing hit my wife. So effing what, he spat. All my blood rushed into my fist and I decked him. I decked him good, right in the face, and he fell to the ground like a tipped cow. Neil's bodyguard grabbed him before any further damage, but as they were making their way outside, Neil was confronted by Axl Rose. Axl came snarling after us like some overdressed Doberman, Neil said. Come on, mother effer, I'm gonna effing kill you, he yelled at our backs. The situation was ultimately diffused, and both singers went on their way. Glenn Danzig is a horror metal legend with a career that spans decades and includes multiple achievements in a variety of genres. Northside Kings are a hardcore punk squad that have also become legendary. But it's all because of one good punch that the band's frontman, Danny Marianino, delivered to Danzig back in 2004. It's been more than a decade since the backstage squabble ruptured the internet, but each of the participants seem to continue to operate in its shadow. Furious, muscle-bound Glenn has tried to explain away the moment, even claiming in 2011, "I allowed it to happen." Why? Because there are always those looking to goad you into hitting them so they can sue you. It happens to public figures all the time. It's a way of life. He claims this despite the fact that the video clearly depicts him shoving Marianino first. Marianino, for his part, is really only known to the general public for that haymaker, and he's talked endlessly about it to the press. In 2012, he even published a book titled "Don't Ever Punch a Rock Star," a collection of hate mail and other crazy rumors. Whenever a mentor and a pupil go at it, you know things are going to get ugly. 9 Inch Nails mastermind Trent Reznor isn't one to pull any punches. He called out Marilyn Manson for being an addict and dangerous to be around in late 2000. It was about as intelligently barbed of a comment as you'll ever hear. The feud started about a decade earlier, but the two seem to have had an on and off friendship going for most of that time. Ultimately, Reznor has continually found new ways to creatively insult Manson for squandering his potential, while Manson has gone on record saying he doesn't know what they're fighting about. Granted, a lot of rock feuds often go too far, but few end in murder, except for the case of Euronymous and Varg Vikernes. On August 10, 1993, Varg Vikernes traveled from Bergen to Oslo to meet up with Mayhem guitarist Euronymous. What would ensue that night would become one of the most debated and infamous crimes in the history of rock feuds. A confrontation occurred in the apartment of Euronymous, resulting in Vikernes brutally murdering Euronymous, stabbing him a total of 23 times. 2 in the head, 5 to the neck, and 16 to the back. Now, the true nature of the murder has been debated and described as a power struggle between the two rival leaders. But Vikernes himself contends that Euronymous planned to have him killed and that he was striking first in self-defense. On the night of the murder, Vikernes claims that he intended to hand over Euronymous a contract, but that Euronymous attacked him first. Additionally, Vikernes also contends that most of Euronymous' wounds were caused by broken glass he had fallen on during the struggle, rather than multiple stab wounds. After the slaying, Vikernes drove to a nearby lake to dispose of his bloodied clothes before returning to Bergen. Vikernes was sentenced to 21 years in prison, the maximum sentence in Norway. The moment the verdict was read, Varg reacted with a devious and evil grin, an image that has become iconic within metal circles.
Thanks for joining us today at Rockfeed. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking news and updates and videos just like these. Check out one of the recommended videos on your screen, and we'll see you all very soon.